Hello and welcome to Wagner's Tech Talk. Today we're going to take a look at a new handheld, the RK2020. This new device will allow you to play Dreamcast as well as PlayStation Portable, and you guessed it, even Nintendo 64. Let's check it out. Let's take a look at the specifications of the RK2020. The display is a 3.5 inch 320 by 480 IPS screen. The CPU is a Rockchip RK3326. It's a quad-core ARM Cortex A35 CPU running at 1.3 GHz. The GPU is a Mali G31 Davlin. The battery is a 2600 milliamp battery. You have 1 gigs of DDR3L RAM. My unit was received with a 32 gig micro SD card, and in terms of ports, you have a USB-C for charging, a USB-A for Wi-Fi dongle, external controller, USB thumb drive, or perhaps a keyboard. Alright, so let's go ahead and unbox the RK2020. This unit was received from RetroMiMi, open source handhelds. Thank you very much for sending this device for review. We'll go ahead and open it up and take a look. It's a nice box. There's a little bit of the specs. We pretty much covered those, so not much there. Alright, well, let's just get into opening up the box. And here is the RK2020. We'll set that aside for the moment and go ahead and look through the accessories. And looks like here we have a joystick cover. Very cool. And in this package, let's see what we have. This is a user's manual for the RK2020. It's fairly basic, not a whole lot of detail in this particular manual, but it's nice that they included it. It also includes a USB-C cable for charging, USB-C to USB-A, and also a micro SD card reader. Very nice. Alright, now let's take a look at the RK2020. I love that these devices are coming out in Wagner's Tech Talk purple. This is awesome. I love purple. It has L1, L2, and R1, R2 buttons on the top. It's also got your power, your 3.5 millimeter audio jack, your USB-C for charging, and a USB-A for a Wi-Fi adapter or dongle. The buttons, well, they feel pretty good. Not too bad. The joystick has a little bit of play in it. Some people are going to like it, some aren't. I actually have no problem with it. It actually functions well. On the bottom right, you have the select and start button. I received the first release of the RK2020, and on this unit, you have, first off, the micro SD card in the very middle here. And on the right-hand side, you'll see a reset button. And from what I understand, newer units will not have this reset button. On the back, there's not much going on here. I think it's important that I go over some tips for your battery on the RK2020. In this case, I'm just plugging it in over the USB-C cable. And when I do that, the unit starts up automatically and begins charging. Now, if I power it off, you would expect it to continue charging, but that's not the case with RK2020. As you can see here, there's no LEDs on at all. So, let's try this. If I pop out the micro SD card and plug the USB-C cable back in, you would expect it to be able to charge even without a micro SD card, but again, that's not the case. I was actually trying to copy some files at one point without the micro SD card in and charge, and that's when I realized it won't work. So make sure your micro SD card is plugged in. As you can see, no LEDs, it's not charging. Alright, so I'll put the micro SD card right back into the unit. Apply power again. And as you can see, the LEDs are blinking, it's charging, and yes, this could be distracting if you're playing at night, so something to keep in mind. Since the unit can't be charged without a micro SD card, I decided to make a copy of the original. And there's not a good utility under Windows in order to be able to access the files on the micro SD card. So in this case, when I swapped to a new one, I used Gparted on a Raspberry Pi 4 to expand the file system, since I did upgrade to a 128 gig micro SD card. I then used this as my method for copying ROMs to the card. I did also order a Wi-Fi adapter to try out with RK2020. And one thing I learned is do not leave the Wi-Fi adapter plugged in while charging. It will drain your battery. Live and learn. Anyway, here I am. I'm going ahead and connecting to my Wi-Fi network, and everything's connected at this point, as we can see with the IP address. And now I'm going to go into the updates and downloads and download a few themes, just so you can see that you do have network access and you can download additional themes, artwork, and other stuff. Here's an example of the ES Theme Supreme Emulate. That's pretty cool. Alright, now we're going to go back to the stock theme, and let's look at the games that are pre-installed. Under Capcom, you got 11 games. Dreamcast, you have 3 games that are available. 5 under Final Burn Alpha. Game Boy, 2 games. Game Boy Advance, 42 games. Game Boy Color, 14 games. Sega Master System, 63. Mega Drive, 2. Nintendo 64, you can barely see that, 5 games. NES, 39. PC Engine, 7. Ports, 14 games. PSP, 3. PS1, 3. Residual VM, 1. Scum VM, 1. Setup scripts, there's 6. And Super NES, 7. All games for a total of 228 pre-installed on the microSD. I want to show you one more quick tip. If you hit the select key, you can change this view like this and move down to the game list view style. Instead of automatic, change it to detailed so you can see a list of games. Alright, so let's start out with Joust. This is a game I added. It wasn't pre-installed on the machine, but these are the type of games that I typically play the most. And it plays very well. Alright, now let's move on to another older machine, the Atari 2600. And again, this is a game I added myself. It was not pre-installed. Alright, now we're going to play some games. Everything from here on out was pre-installed on the machine. And I'm going to go through several just so you can get a look at how they play and how they look. And this is Final Fight on the Capcom emulator. Now we're going to move on to Sonic Adventure 2 on the Dreamcast. And from what I've seen, the few Dreamcast games that I played play very well. Now we're playing Rez. It's an interesting game. I actually enjoy playing this one quite a bit. Now we're going to switch emulators and move on over to the PlayStation Portable, Dissidia Final Fantasy. Now we'll check out Dynasty Warriors. It's a fun little game. I enjoyed this one too. Frame rate's not great, but it's playable. And now we're moving on to the N64 with Super Mario 64. And I did notice quite a few audio issues and slowdowns in this particular game. So it doesn't play that well, in my opinion. Alright, now we'll move on to Mario Kart 64. And at the beginning you can obviously hear some audio issues. Once the game gets moving, it sounds quite a bit better and plays rather smoothly. And I'd say it's fairly playable. You can overlook the audio issues. I also want to make you aware that there is a wiki on the RK2020. I'll put a link down in the show notes below if you'd like to check out this wiki. It's got a lot of good information. I personally have not decided whether or not I'm going to create a tips page for the RK2020. This wiki is fairly complete, and I don't want to duplicate effort that someone else has already done rather well. So if you want to see one, please comment below. I do my best to listen to my viewers, and if that's what you want, maybe I'll do that. One thing it does point out here, it's best to use a Linux machine or a Linux VM to manage files on the ext4 partition on the SD card. And yes, I agree. That's true. Alright, so for my final notes, the Wi-Fi function has been removed on the latest batch of RK2020, so what I showed you here may not work for you in the future if you get a new unit. Charging speed for my unit was slow, but has been improved in the new batch, and there is also a plug-in to improve existing units. If you have a reset button, you have the older unit. New batches will not have that reset button, and when the battery is low, it'll just cut off without warning, and I ran into that a couple of times while making this video, and something I wanted to make you aware of. Well, overall, I did enjoy playing with this unit. The RK2020 is an impressive device. There are lots of games that you can play that you can't play on some other prior generation handhelds. While not all of them will play smoothly, they will play to some extent, and some play actually rather well. It really depends on how you want to use the device and what type of games you want to play. If you found this video helpful, please click the like button. If you want to see more from Wagner's Tech Talk, please click the subscribe. And with that, I shall talk to you very soon.